I just say the
You would say you're more of a spiritual person.
the religion showing Christianity is basically a lie. From this image, without the horn, from this image to the whole doctrine that they teach. What is it? God loves everybody, Jesus loves everybody. The Bible, the Old Testament is done away with, and all that other stuff. All of it is bullshit. So we teach the truth of the Bible. And part of that truth is the Israelites, according to the Bible, are the so-called Negroes, Indians, Latinos on this planet. Some think we're spread around the globe, but basically Negroes, Indians, Latinos are the Israelites according to the Bible. Their respective tribes through the prophecy of the Bible and the word. Of course, going back to Christianity, it's all lies. We're going to start off. Yeah.
You guys, the Old Testament, take the Old Testament and New Testament.
Yeah. Old Testament, I'm not getting anything.
Okay. Is there certain parts that can be out?
No.
Where are there certain parts of the Old Testament that is like,
Yeah.
well, that's what you guys are against?
No, we're not against slavery. Okay. The Bible is not against slavery. It's a way slavery is a lot of money. Because it's wrong with slavery. Right. So, and now we still slaves, so we of financial slavery. Because fathers are that master slave and transfer over. We just came from being slaves in the South to financial slaves in the North. Okay. That's why the South fought so hard. Now, the slavery part of the war comes to one. Basically, it was prophesied that the Israelites would be back. Let me get the scripture for you. Deuteronomy 28.
This is slavery talking about metaphor or is this
Nope, this is like Deuteronomy 28:68. This is Lord who talking to the children of Israel. The Lord shall bring you in ships, by wayfarers, by slave unto you. Before I continue, I want to ask you, what people do you know on the entire planet that went into slavery by ships?
there were South Americans, almost every continent.
Yeah, almost every race was put into slavery, but by ships.
By ships, every race.
Right,
No, yeah, he's correct. Yes, even the so-called white man. We bring more some in the right, exactly.
Yeah.
And also in the medieval ages, you had those Moroccan pirates, and you had a lot of Europeans that were on the slaves. Well, which
as
one
a
is the
nation-
transatlantic slave trade?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Not
Right.
just African Americans, because remember, the transatlantic slave trade was a triangle. They were bringing the so-called African Americans from the western coast of Africa, that's recorded because of history, to the Americas, and they were also bringing the so-called Indians. You can name them either Indians or Latinos from the Americas into Europe. That was the transatlantic slave trade, or you can call it the triangle trade.
That's important because the three tribes are
The so-called Negroes, Indians, Latinos.
okay.
And they were mainly going and being back and forth to slavery by those ships called the transatlantic slave trade.
They went into slavery first. And they used the same tactics. Go and take them to slavery. And then you slavery.
Yep.
So what is your guys' overall message? I'm not quite sure. You guys believe the same God of the Bible. What's your guys' difference?
Well,
let's start
it's not a religion first. It's basically, religion means to hold back, tie up, or bind. And it basically binds you from the truth. It holds you back from the truth. That's what religion does.
Okay. So this is religion?
No, this is a nation teaching nations what's going on.
We're teaching our people our nationality.
Yeah, we're teaching our people our nationality. Not just that, we're teaching the nation the judgment of the Heavenly Father.
And their nationality too.
Yeah. You turn the sign around as well. We're teaching the whole message of the Bible, basically. Because everyone has a nationality according to the Bible.
Okay.
On the other side, it breaks down to 12.
These are numbered. Is that ranked in a certain order?
No. the children of Israel, which is on the side, other side. It gives you the breakdown of the 12 tribes. Then the so-called white people, their nationality is Edom in the Bible. The so-called Indians or India, the ones with the dots on their head, they are Elam in the Bible, and so on and so
which also
forth.
includes Pakistani and those of Iran, because you know they were the Persians.
Yep.
They just changed their name to Iranian. I believe that was in the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Yeah, like early 1930s, they wanted to have their name transformed from Persian to Iranian.
So,
You guys preach the same message as the Bible then, or what exactly?
and this message that we're preaching is basically clarifying some things. Like, we like to start from the basics, all right? And from the basics, starting at the top, that's why we have this image right here. I like that all that shirt.
Thank you.
I see that. It took me back.
What shirt was you wearing?
All that. It's like a old Nickelodeon show for teens back in the day. Very good show. Unlike the shit now. But we got to start with this image right here. Because usually, right now, I don't know what your nationality is. It's not a color thing. You got so-called natives, Latinos, and Negroes that come. We were scattered to the four corners of the globe. And if you stay in each nation long enough, your people are going to eventually look like those people. So it goes back to the DNA and the spirit. All right, so it's not about the skin color. A lot of people like call us the black people, Israelites. That's not what we promote. Those terminologies came about to bring separation further between us, and isn't really a class thing. To be called black is a negative thing.
All right, let me read this real quick. It's Jeremiah 1 and 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out the womb, I sanctified thee and ordained thee to be a prophet unto the nations. Right. So that's basically what we are. Prophets to the nations. Yeah. We telling our people, first and foremost, that the so-called Negroes, Indians, Latinos are the Israelites according to the Bible, according to the history of the world, the prophecy of the Bible.
So essentially, the Israelites, what does that mean? Does that mean they're like a higher totem or higher power?
Yep. Yes, it does.
So we have a Lord's faith. We're in the Lord's people. You know, the people that are over here now, it's a historical fact. That they didn't get there. The person that's calling themselves Jews right now, they didn't come into that land until around 1948. Yeah. That's why they've always been at war with the That's why they've always been at war from day one when the airport and Indian time. Those Arabs started bombing. So they've always been at war with them. Ahmad Cabal, I think it's like the 34th or the 32nd, either the 13th or 32nd.
The 42nd.
The 42nd?
Africa or Egypt.
Egypt, yeah. Ahmad Cabal, he was the president. He said, how did the Jews leave black and come back white? People over there will recognize that they're not the true Jews. Okay. Jewish means like to retain.
And that's why they came up with the whole, basically the whole anti-Semitic, thing where if you speak against them or you speak against the validity of the Holocaust, they'll call you anti-Semitic.
Right.
Which really doesn't make any sense because, you got plenty of other classes of people that can be considered Semitic or Shemitic. Not just.
Right. That's the historical fact. There's not just one people. The Israelites and the Bible weren't the only ones known as being Shemitic. Shem. You got Him, Shem, and Japheth.
I know what Semitic is. What's the difference with Shemitic?
Well, Shemitic because after Noah, at the time of Noah, he had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And that's how you got the nation started again. All right, by their offspring.
Was in your Bible was Noah white or black?
No, everybody is so-called black. Yeah, everybody. Black started on Latino.
Everybody had brown skin.
Right.
Except for Esau when he was born.
Okay, right. So,
well, let me read this real quick because you asked me about that and the Israelite make us better. This is Deuteronomy 76. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen you to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So that just explains it in a nutshell.
Okay.
The Israelites are better than every other nation. Why? Because the Heavenly Father said so.
Right. That's why everybody desires to be the elected. Now, let me ask you a question. When you look at sports and entertainment, what's the number one race of people that they choose?
In sports, it's usually black people because they're at least the way I understand it. When people are evolving, at least that's what I believe. Black people are the strongest because they were the first evolution from our primate brothers. We all started out in Africa. When Pangea was born, we were all essentially all these. I guess it's all humans in the same color, black. We, as Pangea shifted, we all moved around, and due to the sunlight, due to atmosphere pressure, due to different environmental areas, skin color change, like pigmentation. So
I was stuck in a cave.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm the whitest of the white.
Because that, you know what the term
I wish I had more tan.
you know what the term Caucasian actually means? You know what the term Caucasian actually means? It actually means cave dweller. Because, you know, for a time, you know, Edomites, because they're not actually white people, actually lived in the Caucasus Mountains. So that's how y'all be known as Caucasians, but dwelling in the caves.
Right, because the Lord said He saw the one.
He's brown-eyed. You are brown-eyed. I'm blue-eyed.
Right, that's part of that leprosy
I
as
can't
well.
deal with this.
What it is leprosy. It's a form of leprosy.
Leprosy.
Yeah, because it's a lack of melanin. All right, and without that lack of melanin, I want to say that too. It doesn't matter because if a so-called, let's just say, a person that has no melanin in their skin and they go and they live in a place, I don't care if it's 100 years, their skin color is not going to change. All right.
100 generations.
Right. No, even generations, because you can't, no matter how long you stay in the sun, your skin is always going to react the same way because you lack melanin.
You can build melanin up through sun exposure. That's a scientific
Yeah,
fact.
I don't get burned in
I
August
know.
like I do
This
in
is
May.
I can tan,
This is
it's like yeah,
Y'all can
they
get
tan,
suntans,
but
yeah.
at the same time,
Over a long period of time.
it'll start to
Your body
crack
will-
on your skin.
it would
That's
take-
why we
I
don't
think-
really need sunscreen.
Our DNA is 99.99996. There's so many pieces. This is only the last 10,000 years. Everyone was brown from Africa. You go back. There's no doubt about that. It's just split.
Right. But you look at somebody that has leprosy right now, right? They just have leprosy because they have a lack of something. No matter how much you put them in the sun, the skin color is never going to change.
Yeah, but that's in one lifetime. Yes.
They're leopards as well as colors.
Well, they got different grades of leprosy. What you have is they will call you a clean leopard because you know you lack melanin.
This is Leviticus chapter 13, verse let's start at verse 8. And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spreadeth in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean in his leprosy. And the plague is leprosy. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest. And the priest shall see him, and behold, if the rising be white in the skin, and it have turned the hair white, and there is a quick raw flesh in the rising, it is an old leprosy in the skin, and in the skin of his flesh. The priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall shut him up, for it shall shut him up, for he is unclean. And this is if he got brown skin, and they talking about the leprosy. Now it's talking about the whole body being leprous. And if the leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that hath the plague, for from his head even to his foot, whatsoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. It is all turned white. He is clean. And that's basically what the type of leprosy that so-called white people have. The skin, basically all the melanin in the skin is all gone. But he's not an unclean leper because all the melanin is gone. So he's considered clean.
So, is for loss of melanin, does that mean my ancestors, in your eyes, had all the leopards or some sort of
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, I don't know
Oh,
your
well.
nationality because I don't know, your
European,
lineage
probably.
or
I'm Polish, but that's
Polish.
my ancestors.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So, I mean, as far as I know, the most of the Polish people are, well, I know our people are spread amongst every people. That's why I can't really say for sure. But as far as my limited intelligence, because I'm just a man, I would say they're Edomites, right? And if people go back to Edomites, yeah, all your line was born lepers. Because Esau, well, you familiar with Esau, Edom in the Bible? Because we teach the Bible and we give you understanding what's going on with the Bible.
So I get a quick precept.
Come.
This is in Exodus 4 and verse 6. The Lord said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said, put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom, and behold, it was turned again to his other flesh. So
Yeah,
it's an
that's
example
basically
showing that leprosy, changes, basically the color of somebody's vegetation
right,
to being a whitish color.
right.
Like you
Now,
actually got albinos. That albinos will be actually dark skinned people that came out looking very pale. And then you got people, people with pigmentation that who's kind of like got white spots in their flesh all over, not because they were burned or anything like that. But that's also a sign of an unclean leper.
right.
But Edomites, they're basically clean lepers.
Right. Now, this is the story of Jacob and Esau, the blood of Jacob and Esau, which Jacob gave the name Israel, which the patriarchs of the Israelites come from. Genesis 25 and 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because his wife was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people. That's why the so-called Negro and Latinos dominate the sports. One people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. The elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau.
Now, a lot of people are arguing and say, oh, well, he came out with red hair all over his body. The last thing I seen, or animal that I've really seen with red hair all over their body be burnt or be born was an orangutan. That's more orange than red, all right? He didn't come out looking like an orangutan. That's why they compared it onto precepts that tell you that they dyed both hairs different colors, red, yellow, purple. Alright, so that's why it said like unto a hairy garment. And when he came out, the difference in the skin color was noticed immediately because when you have our children born, they usually have that it's like a purple color. I have 4 children, right? I delivered one myself. When so-called white people children, or the Caucasian, Edom, when their children are born, they're bright red. Even a pale, but they're bright red.
I was pale white when I was born.
Right. I mean, after a while, you're going to start turning red after being out the womb. The more you get exposure to the air and the light,
I'm
you
not
start
sure.
getting.
I haven't researched that, but
Yeah.
I think I was white, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. No. You came out pale because even the so-called black children are coming out the same way. You know.
What about a Chinese child or
Yeah, they have a low amount of melanin. That's why they say
also
that their
turn red.
yellow, their skin is yellow. They have a very
They got a low amount of melanin.
So they would also turn red then?
Turn red.
Well, they don't
It
sunburn.
depends on how much pigmentation they got.
Right, because they don't get sunburn.
So they're not really yellow. They're very light brown. That's why they have a very light melanin in their skin.
But
And after that, and after that came his brother out, and they didn't describe what Jacob looked like because Jacob looked like everybody else. And his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his wife was called Jacob, and Isaac was 80
basically, that's the beginning of Jacob and Esau, the progenitor of the Israelites and the progenitor of the so-called white man. Is the so-called white man's progenitor is Esau, Edom, which he came out red basically describing his lack of melanin in his skin. Everybody else had melanin.
And also, he was he was the elder.
Yeah, and of course I read the elder shall serve the younger. And that put a lot of enmity between Jacob and Esau.
To this very day.
Yeah, to this very day.
But later on, Esau loses his birthright.
Yeah.
When he loses his birthright, he plotted to kill his brother ever since. After the father killed him.
Right, because it was basically standard for the eldest son to get the inheritance and the blessing, from the father. So Jacob supplanted Esau by, having him, sell his birthright for, some uncooked meat or pottage. And Esau agreed to sell his birthright to Jacob in an oath.
Right.
So the Heavenly Father honored that oath that Esau made by giving the birthright and the blessing to Jacob.
Which was already prophesied was being complete before. That was already prophesied before. Not to mention, this is also, they've gone back and they've actually taken this Bible and found all these historical places that explain it. From Noah's Ark on Mount Ararat to, I know you're familiar with them being delivered from Egypt and they crossed the Red Sea. Suez Canal, they went down there and they found all them chariots. All of them. They're in the Smithsonian right now. So
is that recent or this year?
No, that's years. That's been like that for years. Yeah. Yeah, you can check it out,
I'll look that up actually.
Yeah, so that's what we encourage. Don't take our word for granted. You know what I'm saying?
And while we're on the subject, Jacob and Esau, this is 2nd Ezra 6, starting at verse 6. Then I considered these things, and verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall the parting asunder of the times, or when shall the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Basically the end of one age or period of time to the next. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, and Jacob and Esau were born of him. Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
Right, because the end of the world, people thinking that the end of the world, a big meteorite might hit the planet, or it's going to blow up, or the sun is going to turn into a black hole and suck it up, all kind of shit. All right, the end of the world is not talking about the complete destruction of everything, because the Lord made a promise. All right, they even found, I just showed you, or you can look it up yourself, I encourage you, how they found Noah's Ark on Mount Ararat. All right, so that's a fact that happened. The whole world was flooded and only 8 people survived. The Big Bang Theory can't, and the theory of evolution, that theory came around in the 1800s. All right, carbon dating, you carbon date the same thing for 2 different companies, you're going to get different results. The world hasn't even been around for millions of years. That's incorrect.
People want to subscribe to that, but the scriptures already break it down that the Heavenly Father had the angels basically create everything according to his time. Creatures for the sea, the land, the air, for the ground and everything after its time. Right. So you can't have flesh of beasts evolve into the flesh of man.
Right, and then not to mention, why haven't in the last, if it took so many years, right, because they're trying to say evolutionary period can take millions of years, correct? All right, even after the million years that happened, we still haven't seen that evolutionary process take place.
Let me read this for quick precept. This 1 Corinthians 15 and 39.
Speak up, Ak.
1 Corinthians 15 and 39. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, earthly bodies and heavenly bodies. But the glory of celestial is one, and the glory of terrestrial is another.
Right. That's why, as far as if you was to actually see an angel and in their angelic presence, you know, it would astound you because, you know, they're in that angelic state.
There is one glory of the sun and another glory of the moon, another glory of the stars, and one star differeth from another star in glory. And that basically that's what it is, different bodies. So there's, you know, the Heavenly Father made different bodies, and they're different. They cannot evolve one to another. In other words, bodies of fishes ain't gonna evolve to be able to walk on the land and be a beast of the land. So we can't evolve to be a human. No, they can't. They can't.
Just like the sea can't cross the bounds of the land and stay on the land without eventually receding.
Yeah,
you know,
receding, going back to
now.
itself. Yeah, it don't. Yeah, the Heavenly Father didn't make it that way.
Right. And that's all the knowledge of this world. We've all been indoctrinated with that same knowledge. And how old are you?
Otherwise, the earth would have stayed flat.
Exactly. So you being 17, we quadruple your age, right? Understand everything you learn is now. Graduate, you don't find out all this. None of that is like but smoke and mirrors, they like to blow smoke in your face and keep you in a state of confusion, because that's how this society is worked, by keeping you controlled, telling you, well, you have to have a test to tell you what you're equivalent and what you're skilled in. Oh, you should be this in life. You know, they'll say, oh, that's just a suggestion. No, a lot of the time they mold you to be the gear that they want you to fit in this society.
This is 2 Peter 1 and 16. For we have not followed cunningly devised fables, when we made known unto you the power and the coming of our Lord Yahushua, but were eyewitnesses of his majesty.
And that's the name of the Lord of Jesus, the name of Yahushua's name of the Lord.
Yeah, that was it. Because we have not followed cunningly devised fables, and that's what this evolution doctrine is a cunningly devised fable. Something that was made up that sounds real good, that's really unprovable if you don't believe in the Bible. The same thing with actually it's the same thing
Fuck
with
that
most
bitch.
of these made up religions.
Shit, I don't give a fuck about it. I'm just looking. I ain't gonna say nothing.
The second world
Fuck that bitch.
under the Christianity is Israel, another cunningly devised fable.
So, for you guys, for the Israelites, when Abraham came home and God will separate them, or you believe that
I'll say it probably move the camera up just a little bit.
Oh no, the Lord is gonna come back and destroy this kingdom quickly, and then of course the Lord, the one you call Jesus Christ,
Hey, y'all gonna have to speak up a little bit. Y'all brothers is being a little too quiet. All the brothers is being way too quiet. Y'all need to speak your voices up
well,
when y'all talk.
Bring the camera a little closer. We kind of in our calm voice, because you know.
Yeah. I'm like,
we in our
speak
calm
up a little
voice
bit, brother. No, y'all gotta speak up.